So what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to go ahead and add some laser shooting sounds to our spaceship. So go ahead and click on sound effects here. I'm on pixabay.com and then search for sound effects. I'm just going to search for laser and I'm going to grab this first one, which I think sounds pretty cool. And all you have to do is hit the download button. All right, so inside of here, inside of our space shooter game, I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to create a new folder. And this folder, I'm just going to call it sounds. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to select import new asset. And all I'm going to do is navigate to that laser, which is on my desktop. All right. So once it's downloaded, you can test the sound by selecting it and then the inspector, pulling up on this little tab here and pressing play, and you'll be able to hear the sound. All right. So let's right click in here, create an empty game object, and let's name it audio player. And this is the object that's going to be in our scene that's going to be it's going to play all of the sounds. All right, let's reset the transform. And then in our scripts folder, we're going to create a new model behavior script. I'm going to call this audio player. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and do a side by side. All right, so let's begin by creating a header. And inside of this header, we're just going to call this shooting. And this is going to be the section where we are handling the essentially all of our variables that deal with shooting. And let's go ahead and create a couple more variables. I'm just going to pause the video and just sort of write this out. All right, so we have this section here. And if we select our audio player here, let's make sure that we add that audio player script on there. And we want to add our shooting clip here. And that's what this field is. It's just going to be a reference to the audio clip. So if we go inside of our sounds folder, which is inside of our space shooter, and then we have sounds here. I select my audio player, and you could also just click this and then select laser. Here's our shooting volume here, which is, and we did a range from 0 to 1. So that's what this slider does. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to reuse my start method here just to save time and just make a new method called play shooting clip. And then what we're going to do, like we normally do, is we're just going to check if our shooting clip here is not equal to null. That means that we actually have it inside of we have an audio file inside of there, so not equal to null. And then what we're going to do is we want to play the clip at a specific point, and that specific point, well, let's take a look. So what we would do is we grab our audio source, so source here, and then we do play clip at point. And the first thing it needs to know is, well, what is the audio clip that you want to play, right? So if I highlight over this, it'll give us some options. It says audio clip, vector 3 float, right? And there's a vector 3 here, that's the position, and then a float, this is the volume. So we have this, which is shooting clip. I'm going to do a comma and then hit enter just to kind of give us some space. And then we want this to be playing where our main camera is, because our main camera has an actual audio listener on there. See that? So we want to make sure that the clip, the position that we're doing it is at the position of our camera here. So we already know that they have a built-in section where if our camera is tagged with main camera, if we just write the word camera, it'll automatically know that it's identifying with the main camera in our scene here. So I'm going to do camera dot main dot transform dot position. And then the next thing is we have our volume here, and that's going to be how we want to control it from 0 to 1. So we can kind of like place this at 0.5 or whatever. Sorry about that. It looks like I wasn't signed into my writer. All right, so where are we going to call this method? Well, it's probably best when we're dealing with it when you hit the button and we shoot, right? We have these scripts here, and we have a script here called shoot. And what we can do is, as we're firing, right, we could have it call that method, and that's what's going to play the audio file in the scene. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get the audio player from the scene. So what we're going to do is, let's see, let's just copy this option here, and then I'm just going to make this of type audio player because we have an audio player script here, and then we could just rename this audio player. And then what we need to do is we need to store this. We need to find it in our scene. So what we can do is I'm just going to hit Control D on this. I think maybe Command D on Mac. I'm going to start recording some tutorials on my new Mac. I just got one. So you'll have a whole set on that. So, but here on Awake here, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And all I'm going to use this for is I'm just going to do audio player equals find, let's see, objects by type, and it's audio player. So let's save that. It looks like we have an error because it should be find object, like of type. Is that right? Find object by type, maybe? That's the new one? Yeah. No, let's get rid of all this. There we go. So what this is going to do is it's going to store a reference. It's going to find it on Awake, and it's going to store a reference to that inside of this variable here. All right, so let's find out when our projectile is spawned. So here we have our time to next projectile here. And what this does is this, essentially like we're looping through, and then we're destroying that instantiation of it. So inside of here, what we can do is just before the yield statement here is I could just write audio player and then dot, and then just call that method. And actually, did I make that method public? No, I did not. So let's make this public here. Let's see. Play shooting clip. We could save that off, and now it'll play the shooting clip every time we spawn a object. All right, so this should work, but what I'm going to do is on my enemies down here at the bottom. Let's see. Here's my enemy ship. Let's see. Here's our shoot script. Projectile speed, projectile lifetime. I'm going to increase the base firing rate to maybe 4. So like every 4 seconds. And the reason for that is where you're going to hear a lot of the sounds in a second. You can see, oh, you know what? They're all firing off the scene. So let's do this back to 1. And then firing rate variance. Let's see if they, yeah, there we go. So we got a lot of this going on. All right, there we go. So we got a lot of that going on, and we could adjust the minimum firing rate and the firing rate variance. Let's actually see what if we crank this up to 1? Let's see how that looks. You might want to bring it up to 1.5 or something, just so that it doesn't, like we're kind of varying it a bit too much instead of you have this huge onslaught. I think that's it for now. What we'll do in the next lesson is we'll actually set it up so that we could take damage. And if you want to give that a shot on your own, that's totally fine. All we're really going to do is really, I'm going to hit Control D on this to just kind of get this started. And instead of shooting, we can call this damage. And then instead of shooting clip, we'll call this damage clip. And then damage volume. And then let's see. We could probably just rewrite this method so that it takes into account, instead of it's playing a shooting clip, it just plays a clip. And that we could pass in which clip that we want, depending on what the damage is. But for now, that'll be another video where we'll refactor stuff. So let's just go ahead and copy this and just hit Control D. Again, and then you just call this play damage clip. And then we would replace shooting clip here with damage clip. And then we'd replace shooting volume with damage volume. We would save this. And now that we have both of these, we just need to call play damage clip from somewhere. So I was going to have you guys just do this on your own or in another video, but we'll just knock it out. So we have in our scripts here, we have a health script here, or we have a damage script. And we do have a ship health script. And we could say, Here's take damage. Let's see. Play hit effect, camera shake. And then we would need a audio. Let's link to our audio source, just like in our shoot script. We have let's see. We have this awake method. We need that, and we also need a private audio player. So let's do that. Let's go into our ship health, and let's add this. And let's grab this awake method, which we use for, let's see. Oh, we already have an awake method, so I could just copy this line of code here and then just paste it here. So now we are grabbing the audio player in our scene. And let's take a look at our audio player. Something else we're missing is a damage sound, which would be here. And let's see, what else are we missing? We are missing the call. So let's grab our audio player here. And we'll say if damage is not equal to null, take damage, camera shake. We'll do this before the camera shake. We'll say audio player dot play damage clip. We'll save that. Let me pause the video and let's find a damage sound effect. So back on the site, I'm going to click sound effects here. I'm going to type damage. All right, so I'm just going to grab the very first clip, which is POW. I know it doesn't really sound like an explosion or anything. I guess we could look up explosion too, but I think it's fine. I'm not looking for anything too crazy sound-wise. So I'm going to go ahead and download this and import it into my project. All right, here I have my hit sound, and let's go into my audio player. I'm going to grab my hit sound here, and I'm going to make both of these 0.5. I don't necessarily like it too loud. And let's go ahead and press play and see what happens. Make sure to save all your scripts, by the way. There we go. In the next video, we could do some code cleanup so that we're only calling one damage or one method and we're passing in the values. But for now, I think that's cool.